let him come and pick it up when he gets a new dumpster.
All right. This is the Hanson Board of Selectmen meeting Tuesday, June 15, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. Join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I am looking for a motion to go into executive session to investigate charges of criminal misconduct or to consider for the filing of criminal complaints pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21. And also to conduct strategy sessions and preparations for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30, Section 21. To wit, Highway Council 93, Local 1700, Clerical Council 93, Local 1700, International Association of Firefighters, Local 2713, and Hanson Police Relief Association, Mass Cop, Local 408. And to also conduct strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair declares so pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, to wit, highway grievance.
So moved.
And then we will revene into open session when we're done. We have a motion.
Second.
And a second by Mr. Weeks. Roll call. Mr. Weeks?
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
And myself? Aye. We are now in executive session.
No, it's good.
Okay.
All right, good evening. We are back from executive session on June 14th, 2021. June 15th, 2021. Mr. Weeks, would you mind reading this week's announcements?
Absolutely. All right, so announcements. Volunteers are also needed on the following committees: Facebook Upkeep Committee, Capital Improvement Committee, Conservation Commission, Cultural Council, Disabilities, Highway Building Committee, Historical Commission, Memorial Day Patriotic Observance, Memorial Field Trustees and Nathaniel Thomas Mill Committee, and South Shore Vocational School Committee. We have two upcoming meetings for the Board of Selectmen, June 29th, 2021 at 6 p.m. and July 13th, 2021 at 6 p.m. That is it.
Great, thank you very much. All right, so we have a packed room here, which is great to see. So I take it for the most part everyone's here for appointments and a little bit of recreation as well. So with that being said, I will move appointments up to get everyone in and out. So this year, board, what I would like to do for appointments is I want to read through the list of everyone being appointed for everyone at home, because I know it's easy for us to look through the list and say yep or nope, but for folks at home, they might not understand. Just like at town meeting, if you would like to hold off on any appointments, just say hold. I know for a couple of us, there may be conflict of interest for voting for a certain individual, so if that arises, please just say hold, and we'll revisit them at the end of roll call. So for the Agricultural Commission for 3-year terms is Teresa Santalucia and David Hayden. Agricultural Commission alternate will be Ruth Sylvester and Michael Chernicki. Appeals Board alternate Joshua Pratty. Central Plymouth County Water District Donald Howard, and both of those are 1-year terms. Community Preservation Patty Norton for a 3-year term. Conservation Commission Philip Clemens for 3-year terms. Council of Elder Affairs Michael Saya, and that's a 3-year term. Council for Elder Affairs Linda Philbrook for a 3-year term. Cultural Council all for a 2-year term: Linda Philbrook, Rosemary Sampson, Jennifer Cronin, Jennifer Durant, and Anne Marie Heislip. Sorry, those were for 2-year terms. My apologies. So, Deregionalization Feasibility Committee, Christopher Ernest, 1-year term. Deregionalization, still is Kim McCoy for 1-year term. James Hickey, 1-year term. John Gillette, 1-year term. And Gwendolyn Lynn for a 1-year term. Disability Committee, both of them are going to be for a 3-year term. Anders,
Just jump right in, Skajurley.
Securely, yeah, yep. And Kristen Ford Hernand. And Drainage Committee, we have Ernest Amato for a 1-year term. Education Committee, Sandra Bates for a 3-year term. For a 3-year term. Facebook Upkeep Committee, Scott Davis for a 1-year term. Final County Hospital Reuse Committee, all 1-year terms. Matthew Dyer, so I want to hold that so I don't appoint myself. So that'll be a hold. Phil Clemens, Marianne Damasio, Robin Spardada Cara, Donald Howard, Kathy Gernhardt. Forest Warden, Jerome Thompson for a 1-year term. Gas Inspector, Scott Bizzarano for a 1-year term. Hazardous Waste Coordinator, Jerome Thompson for a 1-year term. Historical Commission, Lawrence Millis for a 3-year term. Patty Norton for a 3-year term. Marcus Lynn for a 3-year term. And that's for Historical Commission. Memorial Field Trustee, Michael Jocelyn for a 3-year term. Nathaniel Mill Committee, Marcus Lynn for a 3-year term. North River Commission, Jennifer Hine for a 3-year term. North River Commission alternate, John Kemmett, and we'll hold that. Oldham Pond Committee, for both 1-year term, Mary Ellen Buckley and James Hickey.
I'm gonna hold that.
Yes, sir. Open Space Committee, both for a 3-year term, Howard Dillon and Philip Lindquist for a 3-year term. Parks and Field Commission, Eric Olson, Paul Clark, and Adam Velchenick for a 3-year term.
Mr. Chairman, on the next one.
Yep.
I'm sorry, John Zuko should not be on here.
Okay.
He does not wish to be reappointed.
Okay, so we have one open position for Recreation. And then the other one is for Recreation Commission, for a 3-year term, Juvelin Hartwick.
Hold.
Seals of Weights and Measure, Robert O'Rourke for a 1-year term. South Shore Regional School Committee, I think that
He
was,
resigned.
yeah, that was a resignation. So that's an opening.
And this one, Rich Eldridge.
Rich Eldridge.
Waits. Right here.
Seal
Oh,
of Weights and Measures.
oh, okay, sorry. Sealer of Weights and Measurements of Commercial Vehicles, Richard Eldridge for a 1-year term. All right, positions, Special Police Officers for a 1-year term. Ronald Clark, Richard Nowazowski, Nicholas Konrowski, James Perrin, Richard Edridge, I think that's a repeat. Brian Watson, Eugene Andrews, Edward Salvage for a 1-year term. Wiring Inspector, Ed Salvage for a 1-year term. Police Matron, and it's an indefinite term, correct?
1 year.
1 year, okay. 1 year. For both these ladies, Teresa Fitch and Christina Manning. And Board of Appeals, Kevin Perkins.
Hold.
Hold. Okay.
Also, 200th Anniversary Committee was not reappointed last year and is still in existence, so you don't have them listed here tonight, but could we at least?
We can put them on for next week.
Okay, great.
Or not next
I
week,
knew what
but
you
for
meant.
next
Yeah.
meeting.
Great.
All right, starting from the top of the hold list.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
actually,
And
let's do a.
There's one other one. Kevin
Yep.
Perkins was up to be reappointed to Energy Committee. His term expired in 2019, and we never did anything about it, but I'd like that held as well.
Okay, for energy, and we can revisit that next time. All right, so with everything being read off, holding the holds, do I hear a motion to appoint the said list, with the exception of the holds.
So moved.
Second.
All right, made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right, top of the list, final Plymouth County Reuse Committee, Matthew Dyer for a one-year term. I'm going to hand this over to the vice chair to call for those votes, because I'll be abstaining for Plymouth
Okay.
County.
Yep, okay.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Are we able to vote for ourselves for
Yeah.
a committee?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's your comfort level.
Okay, okay. I thought we
You
were.
have
I
to
just
decide
wanted
whether
to.
or not to abstain or not.
Okay.
That's your personal choice.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to, you're fine with Plymouth County, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
To appoint Matthew Dyer at Plymouth County Hospital. All those in favor? 5-0.
And one abstention.
I'm sorry, 4-0-1. Great.
Yep, got it.
Okay, next, North River Commission.
Oh, I
You
can
wanna
take it
finish
back.
Okay.
Yeah, I just need to hold just for myself there. North River Commission, John Kemmett. I'm looking for a motion to appoint John Kemmett for a 3-year term to North River Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. All right,
Abstain.
4-0-1. And Oldham Pond Committee, to appoint Jim Hickey for a 1-year term.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Nay.
No, we're not even asking if you want to be on the commission.
4-1, I guess.
Okay,
easy.
4-0-1? Or do you want to be?
Yeah,
there?
I'll abstain.
Okay.
But, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, and I missed this at the beginning, the Deregionalization Feasibility
yep.
Committee, which I'm on, I should have put a hold on that.
Yep.
But as I've stated,
Yeah, you're fine.
in a past meeting, we're gonna be done
Yeah.
within 2 months anyway.
But also Kate said you can vote for yourself, and so.
Okay.
Because they're not paid positions, right?
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Could we ask, we missed that, who moved and seconded Oldham Pond?
I believe,
I moved and
Yeah,
Joe seconded.
regretfully Laura, and then regretfully Joe.
It wasn't with regret, no. It was with joy.
all right, for Recreation Commission, Juvelin Hartwick for a 3-year term.
May I speak, please? I'd like to speak in regards to that.
Yep, go ahead.
Actually, I didn't know what technology you have, I wanted to just bring up this, and I just have my friends, as a teacher, and can I just have you?
Can we do a point of order really quick, just for the
Yes.
sake of this? Can we just make sure that people say their name, their address?
Sure.
When they speak, their whole.
Sure.
I didn't know that you had technology, so.
Juvie, can you just say who you are and where you are?
I was gonna introduce myself when I
Okay.
began. Do you guys wanna just stand up front really quick and then in like 2 minutes, just sit down? I just wanted, I didn't know that you had technology, but I'm going to, also write this, to them and then to the
I
crowd,
think
if
there's a
that's all right.
sign-up sheet that went through.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let me just introduce myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Juvie Hartwig, and I'm a mother of 3 and a resident of Hanson for 18 years. And also, first and foremost, I'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen for appointing me about 2 years ago for the chance to serve on the Recreation Commission. So, guys, if you want to just turn, I just have this poster. I didn't want to go into it, but I will
Could they move
list
over
it.
to the side so we can
And then you
actually?
can go to the side afterwards. Thank you. No, they're just gonna move to the side. Just wanted to showcase
Yeah.
that, and I'll just refer you to that poster. Like I said, I didn't know that I could use this technology. Okay, so, it has been a rewarding experience. Well, most of it. So thank you, Diane and Melissa. It's been great knowing you ladies and working with you. The opportunity to have met you has been wonderful. And it's also inspired me to become more involved in our town. It was my first introduction to municipal procedures. For some people, playing an instrument is their art, acting in theater is their calling. For me, my civic engagement is my art and my calling. It gives me such joy to create with other people and to see that in one small way, I was part of something bigger than myself. My time as in the Recreation Commission validated my love for this work. As a Rotarian for 15 years, it was a natural path for me. I have, in so many ways, been involved with charitable and community work for as long as I can remember. It gives me purpose, it gives me joy. There is a saying in Rotary, service above self, which really translates to what you can give to others selflessly. I am saddened that I have to show you this poster of my accomplishments tonight as a Recreation Commission member, because this is not where my values are, and it's certainly not what Rotary is, and not part of our 4 ways test. But I also know that I must not be silent, because complacency has led us to this place in our town of toxicity and great public divide and suspicion. I am disappointed, to say the least, to see a pattern of behavior in response to that behavior from citizens in our town government. Hanson is not much different than any other town in the South Shore, because I know it struggles with vying for people to volunteer and get involved. We have a population that is diverse and have varying ideas and values. But one thing is clear: volunteers and appointed officials are not supported well. And, I'm sorry, I lost my place here. Not supported well by town government and our community. Some of our members of our community. Some of these members have hijacked the conversation to be negative and often have vile agendas. To think that my associations with my civic and nonprofit relationships has been questioned as self-dealing or some financial interest is insulting and alarming. Our volunteers and our appointed officials are often disparaged in this town just because they've fallen out of favor with people who have hidden or who hide behind the guise of that they want to protect the community from wrongdoing. The hypocrisy is immeasurable, because when posed with their past indiscretions, wrongdoings, they are not accountable. Furthermore, they use intimidation by using the legal system to upset certain people and to throw malice into the public so that they can create the chaos they need to cause a distraction from the truth. I know that this town is weary of such public discourse and negativity, but if you don't have a better system in place to address the history of vitriol and public shaming and disparaging of your community members, we will not move the needle for progress for this town. We teach our children that when something is wrong, you say something, you do something. I know that's easier for all of you to sweep these problems under the rug and not to address these problems. And so reappointing me, I know, is causing some of you a great deal of distress. But I'm here tonight to encourage my neighbors and friends not to give up. Please continue to volunteer despite my situation, but one thing I would like to ask you to do is to fight for better. Fight with me to create our citizen group, Hanson Families for Change, to combat some chaos, to combat just some of these public problems. I will not be running for reappointment, because I think that there are better ways and systems that I can be a part of to move our community to a better place. I would like to create opportunities for people to come together and to build and create together. I am truly saddened that after speaking with legal counsel, that I will have more impact on my community as a private citizen than a volunteer or an appointed official. I hope everybody understands how sad that is. The Rotary Club raises thousands of dollars for this little community and beyond, and the Children's Museum has provided unbelievable programming and events on a shoestring budget. It's for over a decade, since 2009. It started here in Hanson, by the way. Had to change our name because we moved to Hanover. That was awkward, calling it Hanson Children's Museum in Hanover. We had to deal with it for about a year. So people couldn't use their imagination. We had to change the name. The Children's Museum has succumbed to COVID strain, and it is closed. 6 months ago, I would have been crying, but my character has been called to question, and I know that you all fear the scandal that has ensued. But remaining silent should not be an option. You are volunteers yourself, and I know you work just as hard, if not more, for this very thankless appointed position. But just because it's what has been, it doesn't mean that it can't be changed. I am not seeking reappointment, as I had mentioned, because I want to build the citizens group. Hanson Families for Change, I believe, will help me use this awful experience of being publicly shamed and disparaged to fuel my drive for change. My neighbors and community members are sick of this ridiculousness. We are going to mobilize and help Camp Kawani and other departments in this town to get things done. We're going to find solutions and offer real help by encouraging citizens to take ownership of their home. We will strengthen our volunteer base and approach you with specific action to change the path of how our town reacts and conducts themselves in regards to volunteers. Thank you, friends and neighbors who are here tonight. I know you ran from dinner, from soccer practice, and came out tonight, so I really, really appreciate this. Please believe in us, and let's build our village, because our children, our families, and neighbors are worth that fight. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Juvie. And Juvie, thank you very much for everything that you have done for our community. So, all right, so we have 2 openings for recreation. Moving down the list, we have Kevin Perkins for Board of Appeals. I don't have the length of term written here. 3-year, okay. So we'll hold that appointment, and Kevin Perkins as well for energy. So we'll hold those until next meeting. All right. So with that being said, annual appointments are now done. We have Kate Federoff, our legal counsel, here to discuss the proposed marijuana delivery surface at 15 Commercial Way.
Are we doing recreation?
I was going to go down, because I know that Nathan said he wasn't going to be here till 7:30.
Oh, okay, you're gonna table it, okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
All right.
Yep, I'm not, just later on.
Okay.
We'll get to those. So with that being said, Kate, the floor is yours.
Okay, so you all have been approached by Impressed LLC, who is currently licensed in the town to operate a grow and product manufacturing facility. You've been approached to expand that operation to include delivery. So what this means is there are 2 types, and we discussed this briefly, when was that? 2-3 months ago. There are 2 existing licenses now that are being offered by the CCC. One is a delivery operator license, one is a courier license. The courier license allows I don't want to say operator, allows the marijuana establishment to pick up marijuana from an existing licensed facility, whether it be from cultivation, manufacturer, or another retailer, and just simply deliver it to your home. Whereas an operator can pick up, store, relabel the marijuana as their own, and then they sell it. So they actually engage in the sale. This facility obviously has the storage built right in because it's an existing facility, so it won't be a new build. But the difference is under the operator license, you'll get 3% in community impact payment and 3% in terms of sales tax. So right now they've asked us to negotiate another HCA or an amendment to an HCA to allow for this facility, and if you authorize me, I will then go ahead and do so.
All right. So with that being said, anything from you, Ms. Green?
I just want to let you know, too, that at our past meeting, after discussion regarding the LLC Impressed, one of the members asked about a tour of the facility. I did hear back from Ralph, and he just needs some dates and times that will work with you all, and he's happy to welcome us into the facility and give us a tour.
Great. If the board wouldn't mind just emailing Lisa offline of your time and availability, and we can arrange something
Set
through
something
that.
up.
And is the plan to do this as a board or individually? Or in groups, or all of the, I don't know.
Well, just let me know what your times are, and we'll work around those. And if you want to do it as a group, we can. If you want to do it individually, Ralph seems to be very open to basically working around your schedules to get you a tour of the facility.
And if you go as a group, more than 3, to Bruce's point earlier, don't deliberate.
It's just a tour of the facility, nothing more.
Okay, great. So with that being said, any comments from the board?
Just one,
Mr.
through you,
Mitchell.
Mr. Chair. Shouldn't we wait until they're done with construction? Aren't they doing construction now?
He didn't mention that they were doing construction that would.
They are doing construction, Kenny, but when we ran into him at town meeting, I think it was, Matt, and he said, even though they're doing construction, that it's, there's still enough for us to see, and he can kind of map out and tell us what,
Just
you know.
wear your blue jeans. He said it's very dusty in there, so.
Okay. Duly noted.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion to have Kate go negotiate on the behalf of the town.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Laura, seconded by Joe.
Sounds good.
He said something.
Seriously? He got that in before I did?
You did?
He actually did.
All right,
That was quick for once.
No, he didn't. The new guy,
What
whatever.
it is.
all right, all in favor? All right, 5-0. All right, and,
Yeah,
Okay, just let me know.
it's gonna be mostly by email.
Okay.
Kate, anything else?
I think that's all you have me for, right?
I believe so.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much.
Did we want her for the Camp Kawani Cove discussion?
Sure.
Just because I know there may
yep.
be some.
So we'll move up Camp Kawani and Cranberry Cove discussion. I wanted to put this on the agenda. A couple of weeks ago, there was just a breakdown in communication. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. I know it was in good intention to open up the cove for the heat wave that was coming, but there has been a breakdown in communication for a couple of years now, and I just think that we need to address this as a board and set a policy. Opening up the cove is a little bit more than just saying the cove is open, enjoy. There's a lot of safety aspects behind it, and that I think that we just need to have a sign off from 6 or so departments just saying that we're all on the same page and we're ready for the cove to open. So what I just wanted to implement is a policy and a sign off sheet just saying that recreation is ready to open up the cove. We talked to police, we talked to fire, we addressed any concerns that they may have. Building inspector, just to say the docks are ready to go, and the health department saying that the water is tested, and the Board of Selectmen, just to say that we're notified and ready to go. So that's all I wanted to put on the agenda. It's not to discuss anything else, it just was to say that we need to just all be on the same page, just because I know it was, people were taken by surprise on the opening this past year, and last year it was the same thing.
So are you proposing that we ask the Recreation Commission to implement a checklist?
Yep.
And that by a certain time prior to opening the cove, that checklist be completed?
Correct.
And so would Lisa be working with them on that checklist of the things I don't think it's brain surgery, you just
Right.
mentioned basically all the things, but
Right.
is that kind of where you're going?
Yep, I'm just going to ask the Recreation Commission, has this all signed off before the cove officially opens?
I have no problem. Like you said, I believe that it was of the best intentions. It was a heat wave. I think people were extremely appreciative of it. But I know there were some questions about lifeguards and why we don't have lifeguards and was it okay not to have lifeguards and all of that type of stuff. Now, Kate had told us last year, she had given us opinion last year, that if we opened up the cove without lifeguard, like it had to be we had to pick a, pardon the pun, swim lane, right? We had to decide if you're going to open it up and you say at your own risk, then it's at your own risk, and we don't do some hybrid model of we've got a, lifeguard part-time, we've got gatekeepers, but we don't have it these hours and that type of thing. And so we're not getting into any of that.
No, I'm not getting
Okay.
into any of that. I just want to set a new policy just to make sure that next year that we are all on the same page. And just talking about big operations up there, I know we've done it in the past, and I just want to reiterate the point. I'll get to you in a second, Diane, is in the past, there was always a memo that went out to the police, fire, and the Board of Selectmen saying, this is the events happening up at Camp Kawani, just so everyone is aware, just so we know what's going on up there. With that being said, I'll recognize the Chair of Recreation, Diane. Go on.
I was unaware for as long as I've been sitting on the board. Go to the mic. Oh, sorry.
Ooh, she's got a boot.
Hi. I was unaware that there was ever any kind of procedure like that, and I don't even know who took care of it in the past. It must have been the administrative assistant. But again, thank you for saying there was no malice, because really, last year I got a call saying, do you think it would be a good idea to open the Cove given the heat wave? And that was from some members of this board. So I like the idea, so thank you for being proactive in that. And I know that in the past, they've always opened the Cove when school let out to accommodate, but we have the choice of being able to open the Cove when we think it's appropriate. So we can change those dates to cover ourselves in the future. So that'll probably be what we do.
Great,
All right,
thank you.
thanks.
Mr. Weeks.
So, through you, Mr. Chair, it's actually more of a question about policy and procedure. You might have to answer something. So, when we're talking about just overall what we're asking rec to do, or just anybody to do right now, what's the timeline? So how do you wanna, so what's the policy that you're specifically looking for? What's the timeline? Is it going to be retroactive to the opening of the Cove? So essentially, are we saying, in lieu of this policy being approved by the Recreation Commission and the Board of Selectmen, is the Cove now closed until we are able to?
Nope, I think the Cove's already open and the floodgates are open on that. In regards to a timeline, maybe a 2-week heads up might be appropriate.
Okay, so this is for the future?
For the future,
Opening
going
up anything in
forward,
the
moving
future?
forward, yep.
Okay,
Right,
all right.
which is how I understood it, so thank you for clarifying. But I think when we vote, we can, maybe open it June 1, and if there's some kind of massive heat wave in May, can we put something in our motion when we open it to say that, if everything is already done prior to that?
If you have all the sign off,
Yeah.
then I'm fine with that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I?
So I'm looking for a motion to approve the policy, I guess. I know we don't have it written down, but
So just to recap, we're looking for a checklist
Yep.
that will be filled out prior to the Cove being opened, and Lisa's going to work with folks in recreation, TBD. So moved.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kenny. All in favor? Aye.
That's funny. I'm gonna get you every time.
All right. All right, with that being said, Kate, thank you very much.
All right, now it's
Chief
official.
Mix, we have you in the back, and you're here to give us just the police department update.
All right, I'll be in touch. All right, Kate, we'll talk soon.
All right.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having me in. I know we haven't done this altogether in over a year now, so it's kind of nice. Although I did like the Zoom meetings because they're a little more comfortable at times, but I didn't have to wear a tie. So yeah, you asked me to give you an update. Basically what's happened for the past year. The police department has actually had many changes in the past year and a half. If you recall, we went to regional dispatch a year ago last June. We went to Duxbury. With that, I lost 3 very dedicated civilian employees who I'm very happy to say have actually found other jobs and are working, so that's a big plus. 2 of the 5 positions we lost, one I transferred to my administrative assistant, and she's doing great. Miss Fitch is absolutely outstanding. And the other was Brian Rade. Brian, we managed to move into the police academy, and he's a very good fit, very grounded young man, and he's a plus to have with us. just before COVID hit last year, Sergeant Andrews, Gene Andrews, had 30-plus years with us. He retired. The reason I'm bringing all these names up is normally we'd bring those people in with their families and, you know, thank them and bring in the new officers and swear them in. So at the very least, I'm going to do this right now, and we'll discuss with the board about bringing them in later. So anyway, Sergeant Andrews retired. With that, it opened up a promotion, and I was very proud to promote Jared Megan to sergeant. He's, of course, banished to midnights, where all new sergeants go. I'm not sure he's liking it too much, but he's doing a good job. Also, when we went to regional dispatch and we lost those 5, it was actually 5.5 civilian positions. Part of the operations for me to keep the building open, to keep the station staffed, I needed more bodies, I needed more officers. And we hired 4 new officers. Brought in Officer Corey Arsenal. He had been a part-timer with us and a dispatcher prior. He was hired by Situate, and I stole him, for lack of a better word. He came back home, which he's a great fit as well. Officer Mario Thompson was a part-timer for us, who we promoted to full-time. He did great in the academy. He's been on the road for almost a year now himself. And then to fill the last 2, we brought in Officer Bobby Mansfield. Bobby came from Oak Bluffs on the island. Again, great fit. And then the last one we took on was Rick Bakarian, came in from Hopedale. Again, a good fit, experienced officer. Both of those 2 have at least 5 years on the job. I unfortunately lost one officer in the process of this. Chris Dominguez, anybody who met Chris absolutely loved Chris as soon as you met him. Great kid, very good temperament. He had an offer that he couldn't refuse. He went to the Braintree Police Department, and a big part of that was a financial issue. Hanson's not going to compete with Braintree or Quincy or Weymouth in the salary departments. I understand that, and I don't begrudge him for leaving. Also, he has family ties there, but a big loss for us. I was fortunate enough to take one more part-time person we had and put him into the Cape Cod Academy, and he just graduated a few weeks ago, or actually 2 weeks ago. And that's Kyle Bersani, and Kyle, a good, nice young man. Looks like he'll be a good fit as well. Also, we had a change in some of the structure. We had a lieutenant's position, which was the executive officer. We changed that title to deputy chief, and that's Mike Casey. He is doing an outstanding job. I couldn't ask for a better number 2 right now. He's got historical knowledge, a lot of ties in the town, and he does very well keeping the officers in line when they stray a little. Not that it happens often, but sometimes they just need to be pointed back in a different direction. And anybody who knows Mike knows that he can direct people in a lot of different ways. So internally, there's been a lot of changes. There's been some adaptation, a bit of a learning curve and some bumps in the road with adapting to the regional dispatch. But overall, it's going well. The big plus for, I think, the taxpayers in this town, they should know that when we went there, we got a grant through State 911. So between police and fire, we've been given about $850,000 worth of equipment services in the past year. That won't keep going forever, so we need to make some plans in the future, but we upgraded the phone system. That was probably $50,000 just in the police department. Fire has a new phone system. We got new servers. We were able to tie the computer networks in together with the fiber optic ring that we planned on a few years ago. So now, hopefully we'll see a savings in the next year or 2. All the internet for all the town buildings is now, except for water, goes through the police department, so we're consolidating those bills. So we're hoping to see a little savings there, or at least even that off with the internet use. Those projects are just being finished up. The last thing I have is for a project, which is probably a $5,000 to $6,000 project. We're actually going to put, for the first time ever, a lock on the front door of the police department. There is no lock. good and a bad thing. We never needed it. There was always somebody there to say hi. So we plan on still keeping somebody there to say hi. Unfortunately, because of the operations within the department, there's a desk officer when you walk in now. That desk officer might not always be able to be at the desk. They'll physically be in the building. They might have to be in the booking room or doing cell checks. This is gonna allow us to lock that door. There'll be a phone there you can pick up. You're either gonna get the desk officer somewhere in the building, or you're going to get the 911 dispatch in Duxbury. So the station's still live and open, but you might have to get through one locked door to get to us. Again, it won't be locked on a regular basis, maybe at night for security reasons. And that will be the last part of that project. We put in for money for next year. I'm guessing probably $400,000 from state 911. That'll cover our cost to the town of Duxbury for the services. So that looks pretty promising. The other big change that's happened with us in the past year is police reform. When the Police Reform Act went through, some of it was emergency legislation. The governor signed it, and they expected us to have everything done the next day. That was impossible. Some of the things are being implemented in, but one of the first things that needed to be taken care of was a review and redo our use of force policy. It wasn't too bad for us to change, very minor changes, because we had an up-to-date policy. Maybe some towns didn't, I don't know. Nothing was too crazy for me. I never thought I'd have to put in to a policy that you can't choke somebody, but I did. I thought it was common sense and something that people should understand in Massachusetts. None of us have been trained that way. In 26, 27 years I've been on, that has never been choke holds, carotid artery holds. It's never been taught to us. So we never said don't do it because you were never taught to do it in the beginning. Anyways, we've updated the policy. I got to thank the deputy chief. He did a lot of work on that. Part of also what happened is the president in June of 2020 put an executive order on that for police departments across the country to be eligible for grants, they needed to meet certain levels of service and have certain policies, use of force being one of them. To prove that, we had to go through an accreditation process through the state accreditation board, which we did, and just yesterday, again, emergency legislation that was supposed to be done in January. Just yesterday, I got the letter saying our use of force policy meets both the federal and state standards. So we're good to go there. We also train in that at least 2 times a year, usually up to 4 times a year. We incorporate that in our training. Also part of police reform is they're going to start certifying all the officers. It used to be you got out of a full-time academy, a town hired you, you did your in-service training every year. The oversight was always on the local appointing authority. You either had to mess up, quit, or commit a criminal act to be thrown out of the job. Now we're going to what most states do, a post system. So there's going to be a commission that's going to oversee our training, our certifications of every officer. They're going to do that over a 3-year period, starting July 1. How is that affecting us? Well, it's keeping me overly busy on a lot of administrative tasks. I've spent the past few days just making sure that the state's computer system is getting all of our training that we have done in accurately and showing the required hours that we need. The state requires at least 40 hours a year. We on average do 40 to 50. Matter of fact, the contract calls to have 50. The police contract calls to have 50 hours a year. We've always tried to meet that. COVID made it a little more difficult this year because there wasn't a lot of in-person classes. We did do a lot of training online, which was challenging. Credit to the officers, they all kind of pushed through it. It was not the best training I've ever had. If you've ever sat through CPR training and had it done on a computer in front of you, it's a real treat. It's hard to stay awake at times, but they got through it. They weren't complaining. They've all come out and done everything I've asked them to do as far as the training goes, and enthusiastically. Going forward, we might have some issues budgetary-wise, trying to meet some of the standards. Again, most of police reform, I haven't been too uptight about, because we've been doing it, it's best practices. And we've been doing it here for the past, 7 years anyway, since I've been here. With that, there'll be some changes kind of going with the flow with police reform, because some of the commissions they've set up, they haven't even met yet, and they're supposed to be hitting the ground running on July 1st. So the next 3 years is gonna be some ups and downs with us trying to meet requirements. And some of the stuff, even with how they want the training put in, we had a month's notice. So that's why I'm kind of scrambling now to get it done. On a financial note for the police department, we're in good shape right now for this fiscal year. We'll be fine. Usually every year I'm up telling people how something blew up with either the heat or the AC. I did a little preemptive. One of the units wasn't working. We called the guy in, just told him go 2 days, just go through the whole station. So the company did. Everything's working. I haven't had any major problems this year, surprisingly, because I usually have some unexpected $10,000 to $20,000 bill for something that breaks in that place. We did fine this year. So the other thing that we have financially is we knew going into next year that we might have had a budget problem, we all know. And the deputy chief spent an extraordinary amount of time writing a grant for the federal government for cops hire grants to hire officers. It was geared towards if you were laying officers off. We did put in for that grant. It was over $750,000 over a 3-year period. Would have employed 4 officers. We unfortunately didn't get that grant. When we put it in for it, we were even hoping if they gave us 1, we'd be thrilled. The plus to those grants, though, is they usually are done over 3 years, and if you don't get it in year 1 or year 2, and there's money still around, they might come and say, hey, we'll give it to you. They just did another grant a couple of weeks ago. We looked into that. We don't meet the criteria that they're looking for to give to communities, unfortunately, so we're not really eligible for the latest grant. The override, though, going through, I'd like to thank everybody. I'd like to thank the town to save those officers' jobs. I just can't say enough thank you. The officers appreciate it, and we'll continue to be able to staff the way we need to, safely, keep the station open, and more importantly, I didn't have to go and let more good officers go. The only other thing with the financials, we're putting in for a grant too. Hopefully we're gonna get about $20,000 in highway safety grant money for equipment and enforcement. Other than that, anybody have any questions?
Any questions from the board? That's been quite the update and quite the year for the Hanson Police.
Just our
So,
undying gratitude.
Yeah, thank you very, very
I
much.
sincerely thank you and the town for supporting us. And it was
Chief,
shown.
if you don't mind.
Ask a question.
Sure, name and address.
Sure, Frank Lacey, 604 Brook Street. First off, the Hanson PD is by far the best police department on the South Shore. I argue the state, they do a fantastic job. A part of that highway safety grant money, is it possible to use that for those lighting speed traps, essentially? Because there is a lot of speeding. I live on Brook Street. There's a lot of speeding on Brook Street. I know there's a lot of people complaining about speeding on the High Street and East Washington Street. It seems like it's getting worse. And I know officers can be spread thin.
So there's a couple of things we do with that. In the grants, yeah, we're asking them for at least 1. The goal when I got, if you're not familiar, there's speed signs, electronic speed signs, radar signs on Spring Street as it meets West Washington and East Washington, so that S curve. There's one on West Washington, not far from the grain store. And there's one on East Washington, about midway between Liberty and Whitman. Those signs cost about $2,700 a piece. They're actually an excellent resource for us, though, because not only do they do the speeds, they'll record them for me. They'll give me the peak times and the low times. and I can usually figure out when somebody's messing around trying to see how fast they can go down the street, because there's usually one spike. Or there was an ambulance run to 1074 West Washington Street to All-American. One of the two is usually on there. And then and they're all cellular, so once the signs are in, they cost me $400 a year for the cell and the web data hosting. So they're not huge money. The other thing we have is a mobile trailer that we try to put around, because those signs, when I bought them, we had hoped to be able to kind of move them around town more. They go into these locking brackets. They're not as practical to move around as I realized. Right now, the hope is to get at least one in this grant. We'll probably take care of Liberty Street as you head into the S-turn where east and west come in, because what I'm finding is that corner, especially coming from Rockland or Whitman, that's when we have most of the accidents there. So we kind of target intersections that we know we have a lot of crashes at. And usually the crashes there are caused by somebody under the influence or somebody falling asleep. It's usually, every time somebody goes into the old fire station, it's one of those two things. So the thought was, if we put that up and they see some flashing lights and stuff, even if they're a little out of it, maybe they'll wake up. So far the theory's working, but we'll see. Summer's coming. So I can deploy the trailer mounted one on your street. If anybody has a problem, just call. We put it on a list and we rotate it through. As this past year, I've been short officers. I know I told you about all the new ones, but I could barely staff the station in the road for this past year, because we didn't have all these bodies here. We didn't have these officers working. Now that we're starting to be at full staff, I can get them out more for some enforcement. Part of the grant too is the state pays us overtime to put them out there extra. So that's all they're doing. They're not, getting called off to other calls. But again, if you have a problem, either email us or call us and leave a message, and we'll put you on a list to do a little extra enforcement. Just do me a favor, if you email me, don't email me like fireworks complaints to the info thing, all right? Because I don't see them till the next day sometimes, because I actually do try to sleep sometimes. And yeah, I wake up at 8 in the morning and somebody's like, can you do something about the fireworks? They've been going off all night. Yeah, something's been done, it's 8 a.m., I don't hear them anymore, I'm sorry, I don't, don't send me messages on Facebook or Twitter either, because I don't, actually you can't send me messages on Facebook anymore, because that,
Oh, boy.
the last person that did that to me in the middle of the night ended up in court, so.
Chief,
Can't send me nasty things at 2 a.m. Trust me, it doesn't work out for either one of us.
we had one question from the board. Ms. Kemmett?
Yeah, Chief, the accident that happened, I think it was yesterday, East Washington, we've talked about this corner before, the one that's just prior to Hitching Post.
Yeah, Spring Street, East Washington, West Washington.
Exactly. And I know we had talked about like maybe exploring calming techniques, exploring signs, exploring like, I don't know, all kinds of.
So, yeah, we came up with a plan. Or we came up with a thought process. We used, help me with this, Lisa, so South, what are they called? The traffic people, they do the planning. I can't think of the name of them now.
Old Colony Planning Council.
Planning Council, thank you. One of their traffic engineers came in and consulted with us. Yes, there's some things we can probably do there, but that has to come out of the highway's budget to do it. And there isn't any money in highway's budget at the moment to do that. So maybe what we can do is this, once July comes around this fiscal year, I'll talk to Jameson. It was some simple things, but extra stop ahead on the pavement. We looked at doing the turning lanes where they're not solid, but you do the dash line, so people kind of got an idea. To be honest with you, what's been a huge help is the gentleman who owns that property there put up a stockade fence. In the past, it had that rock wall and a kind of a field and then the trees, and everybody thought they could just keep going straight.
Yeah.
So they couldn't.
Yeah.
Now the stockade fence, they kind of seen it a little earlier, and then they also got the light flashing at them. When I check the speeds, most of the people going into that, or believe it or not, going in, they're hitting that speed sign at about 30. And where the speed sign is, it does drop to 20, so it's not an unreasonable speed. It's usually just a knucklehead at 2 a.m.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, next item on the agenda is approve the change of manager at 1458 Liquors Incorporated to Tina Wales.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right, and we're gonna pass over considering adding a selectman to liaison during the renewal of the 4 collective bargaining agreements. And then Jack Gillette, an Eagle Scout citation. I have it somewhere, I believe. I want to recognize Jack Gillette for his service to the community as an Eagle Scout. We have a citation that will be issuing to him at his ceremony. It says, be it hereby known to all that the Board of Selectmen takes this means to express its sincere congratulations to Jack Gillette of Hanson, Massachusetts on the successful completion of your Eagle Scout project, in which you built a pavilion at Boteri Fields in Hanson. We recognize the time spent fundraising and ultimately the energy that went into building a place where the public can enjoy baseball games in the shade, in a shaded area for years to come. Your dedication to the values of scouting and your thoughtful consideration in providing this pavilion are recognized by your scouting peers, leaders, families, and your friends. Your leadership and oversight during this project, from fundraising throughout the completion of construction, is impressive. On behalf of its citizens of the town of Hanson, the board wishes to congratulate you on achieving the milestone of the honor of Eagle Scout and wishes you the best in the future endeavors. So I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention, and I believe the details are in your packets if you want to attend that ceremony. That'd be great.
And is that the citation that we're?
Nope, that's a different citation.
Okay,
Yep.
there's so many.
So with that being said, accepting May donations. For those who are at home, we had several donations for all different purposes, from Elder Affairs to the Dare gift amount to Veterans Gift Fund. It's a total of $100.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Second?
Multiple seconds.
And multiple seconds. And I'll give that second to Jim Hickey tonight. So, you're welcome. So, all in favor? 5-0. All right, appointments. Lisa Green for Mayflower Municipal Health Group.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. So 5-0. Item 5, Jane Durante to be appointed for Elder Affairs, expiration June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and is Jane here tonight? No? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Bob Hayes, Cable Access TV Advisory Committee. Ms. Kemmett?
Yeah, so this, I think, is a bit of a dinosaur. We've had a gentleman on this Cable TV Advisory Committee. I think his term expired in 2018 or something. I'm not really sure what their role would be, because other than to maybe go and suggest to the nonprofit board of the Whitman-Hanson Cable things that we might want, but we have representation from Hanson. So I don't know, Lisa, do you have somebody from Whitman that is a cable advisory, or did you? And I'm sorry to put you on the spot with that, but I guess I just did.
We did have a gentleman who was on the board.
Right, but this is, so just to be clear, this position is not to be on the board. This is to be on an advisory committee to the board.
I'm not aware of an advisory committee in
Okay.
Whitman.
Is there any way we can kind of look into what this is? Because I feel like it's a dinosaur that somehow got resurrected. In my little bit of research that I did, before they formed Whitman-Hanson Cable Access Television, they had an advisory committee that worked on forming the cable access television, but they've been formed for a while now, so I'm just not really sure what this role is.
Go ahead, Gwen.
I believe that it's the license agreement, the franchise license agreement is near expiring, is that correct, Lisa? So would they play a role in that, trying to?
We've had the town administrator do that in the past. Yeah.
So it sounds like to me that this needs a little bit more homework on what this committee is doing, the capacity.
Yeah.
And kind of going from there. So I want to table that for right now, if it's okay with the board.
Sure.
So I'm looking for a motion to table this item for now.
I don't even think you need a motion.
I don't need
Yeah, I
a
don't think
motion?
we need a
Okay,
motion.
okay, nope, I just wanted to make sure I moved with the board. All right, so with that being said, we have 2 vacancies on the Recreation Committee, and we had several applicants for this position. What's this in regards to, Mr. Young? Recreation Commission? Give me,
Just a quick note. The way somebody usually finds out if there's a vacancy on these committees, there's 2 ways. When the selectmen make their announcements every week, they say that the vacancies exist. And also, if you go to the town's website and look under volunteer opportunities, they'll all be listed there. Just a note, neither of these 2 positions, which we just learned about tonight, the 2 people who aren't going to, who don't want to apply for reappointment, this is the first time most of the town has heard about this. So none of those people out there have been given an opportunity to apply for these 2 vacant positions. I'm not saying that I would advise you to hold up on the interviews. I think you should go forward with those because those people are here. But if I was sitting where you were and knew that those are the 2 ways that people normally know that there's a vacancy, I would conduct these interviews tonight and then give the rest of the town an opportunity. If anybody who didn't know there were 2 vacancies going to exist and those people weren't going to be reappointed to apply for those positions.
Mr. Young, I hear what you're saying, but with all due respect, we've had actually applicants sending in their resumes for Nathan, at least. He's been there in the wings for over a year.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just pointing out that nobody knew that these 2 vacancies would exist until this evening.
Understood. I'm going to move forward with filling those positions tonight.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I just wanted to make that point.
Okay, thank you. So with that being said, Nathan Mastico, I know that he was in transit and he is here. So Nathan, do you mind coming to the podium, introducing yourself, and just give a quick, brief summary of yourself and why you want to be involved up at the camp?
Hi, my name is Nate Mastico. I live at 29 Woodman Terrace, right on the back side of Camp Kewanee. I've been a Hanson resident my entire life, all 23 years of it. And in that time, I've seen Camp Kewanee go from the boom and bustle that it was down to what it is now. And I want to see it get back up and going. And I am a firm believer in the hidden gems that Hanson has here with all of the conservation land and with the opportunity for business to generate revenue for the town. Because it is a campground and it is already established, and with very little renovations, you could run it as a business to make money, to have things like the intersection get fixed that we want to do and stuff like that. And I think it's a very, very easily achievable goal. We just have to start taking steps to get there, and that's why I want to be on the Recreation Commission.
Any questions from the board for Nathaniel? No questions at this time?
I have a question. You made a reference to Camp Kewanee at what it was, and you used the word boom to what it is now, which is totally different from the way you describe it. What would be a couple of the things that you would do to get it back to the way you wanted it?
I would like to see, we would start out with little things like the face, like the general appearance when you first get up there. In the long run, I would like to see a few new trees planted in the ring up in the road. They can be like oak trees that will grow nice and healthy and live for the next 300 years. But I would also like to see things like the awnings that come down over the screen windows in the south end. I would like to see those not be blue tarps and go back to being the heavy canvas material that they used to be. And I would like to see things like on the website on the south end, it says up to 6 beds per cabin, most with mattresses. I would like to see it all with mattresses and stuff there, and I believe those are the starting steps that you could take to start to get people here. I also believe that if you change up the website and how people book campsites there, more people will be inclined to actually get a campground there for the weekend and do stuff there, because there are Massachusetts Bay State Trail runs right behind there. And 5 minutes from there is Burridge, one of the greatest conservation wildlife refuges around, so I think you could do it.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Weeks?
So are we doing full interviews right now, or are we coming back and doing introductions and doing it?
I think maybe it's just best that we go, hit everyone once, and then that's it.
So, you talked about business. It's Recreation Commission.
Yep.
What is your opinion about recreation? What would you like to bring in terms of recreation? What do you see for your overall vision for Camp Kewaunee, Cranberry Cove, being able to provide recreation?
Outdoor recreation is huge with me. I love everything to do with outside. I would like to see things like the swimming lessons come back. I really enjoy being a little kid and going to the fun day that they used to have down there that is no longer a thing. I would like to see money get generated so that we can easily achieve trail maintenance and trail markings in places like Burridge. And then I would like to see eventually sidewalks get places, because if we have sidewalks places, people will walk down them, as proved by Pembroke. People will walk them, and if they go places, then people will go to these places. So I firmly believe that one of the first steps to take is to use Camp Kewaunee as a way to generate revenue, to get people out and about and doing things.
So in terms of generating revenue, it's the elephant in the room. How would you propose to generate revenue? During the boom times, things were quite different financially. There were drama programs, the town, we had a revolving account that was significantly larger. Some of those things are no longer part of the equation. And so how would you propose to change that up financially?
One of the first steps would be the website and how people book campgrounds. Because I believe that the way that you get a campsite right now is outdated and is a little excessive, filling out the application and stuff. When you can, everywhere else, you can just click what dates you want to be there and submit a payment online, and then the payment's there. And so I think that is the first step to take to getting Camp Kewaunee back up and on its feet.
Any other programs or anything of that sort?
I mean, I would ideally, in the long run, I'd love to see the drama come back. I loved walking up to Camp Kewaunee at night and going into the shows, and I would love to see things like sprucing up the place and getting people back, wanting to come back more frequently for weddings, and people wanting to come back for doing things. And then I also believe that if you have people there who want to camp, you can also run things like the boathouse and run like kayak rentals into the pond, because it's a lovely pond to go kayaking.
Indeed.
And so that would be another way you can just continuously generate revenue while people are camping there, who are already paying for the sites.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? All right, with,
I think,
Miss Diane? I think,
Come join me.
she just had surgery, so she's like,
Avoiding surgery.
she's in a walking cast.
So, I'm Diane.
Yep.
I'm the chairperson of Rec.
Yep.
I don't believe I've ever seen you at a meeting before.
I attended one a couple weeks ago.
Okay, online?
Yes.
Okay. Just I want you to know that some of those things that you mentioned,
Yep.
like the trees in the front,
Yep.
we already have a plan for that.
Cool.
There are no
That's good.
blue tarps over the south shore, the south end campsites, just so you know, the cabins, they've all got their,
Awning?
vinyl awnings.
Yeah.
And we're looking into actually shuttering all of them, because that would be better looking and longer. So,
Fantastic.
yeah, I just wanted to let you know that, and I'm not sure if you have an understanding yet, that we are an enterprise account?
Yep.
Okay, you know that?
Yep.
Okay, those are the only questions I had.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that being said, thank you, Nate, or Nathaniel. Next one is Audrey Flanagan, and I'm gonna abstain from this one, just as she is my campaign manager. So I'm gonna hand this over to the vice chair.
Excellent.
Hi, I'm Audrey Flanagan, 43 Baker Street. Lifelong resident of Hanson, went through McQuon, Indian Head High School, graduated Whitman Hanson. I have 20 plus years of experience with Hanson Recreation. I started 20 years ago when my daughter was 4. We joined the play Peter Pan, and shortly after that I joined the Recreation Commission. I was on for several years, and in that time we had luau's, we had a children's theater camp. Every year we had a play. I wrote down some notes. I was involved with the cottage renovations from that happened in 2015-16. I ran the family camping weekend that we had in 2016, which is it was a huge success. And I also started Family Camp Cleanup Day when I was a member of the commission, which was an annual event every April where we had several volunteers that would come up and work on cleaning the camp, cleaning mattresses, building cots, and just like general, winter cleanup of the camp. Currently, I'm the chair of the 200th Anniversary Committee, and last year for the 200th anniversary, we had a lot of activities planned for the year, which were all kiboshed because of COVID. We were still able throughout the year to have the store with our 200th anniversary items, and with the help of Joanne Bloss, we had mill pop-up stores throughout the year, and we were able to do the gala in February, which Laura and Ann Merlin and Marcus Lynn had a really big part in planning. Our other events were going to be an old home day, which we had a lot of planning that had gone into that already. Food truck rodeo, the parade, which was going to be in September of last year, and we had booked for the parade. We had Wally and Pat the Patriot and Blades the Bruin. We had Clydesdales and we had clowns, and we had sent out a letter to all the departments in town asking for floats. We had a lot of response from people. We had an Oktoberfest planned, and we were doing the fireworks for the Holiday Fest. So we had a lot of planning for recreation for the 200th anniversary. We're still hoping to salvage some of the year. We are talking about a couple of smaller events to end the year and just try to put some closure to the 200th. Also in Hanson Recreation, not specific to the commission, but I was on the Hanson Girls Softball Board. I coached softball for several years, from 3rd grade all the way up until my daughter was a sophomore in high school. So yeah, my goals, if elected, appointed, would be to work more towards subsidizing recreation programs through money generated from weddings and events. It was a successful practice in the past, and I think that, with some beach programs and, for children and adults, including boating programs, maybe get a luau in for the adults, that was a really good time. And I'd like to work with the Community Preservation Committee to obtain some funds to bring back the caretaker's house to some sort of usability. I've always thought that should be the office and a little Camp Kiwanee museum, and it does need a lot of money to bring that back to you. So I'd like to bring theater back. I have 20 years in the theater program, and I know people miss it. And I know people who acted in the plays miss it. So I would like to work to bring theater back. I'd like to bring family camping weekend back. That was we had 35 families. We had from sunup to sundown activities going on all over the camp, organized activities, and I mean, to the point where we had T-shirts as giveaways, you know, if you won the cornhole competition, you know. So I'd like to bring that back because that was a great family community event. And finally, I'd just like to work in helping with a business plan. I've been on some of the rec meetings lately, and one of the things that they have talked about is that they don't have a business plan, that it was in the job description of the recreation director, and they don't have a recreation director right now. So I would volunteer my time to help the commission create a business plan for recreation in Camp Kewanee.
Okay.
And that's it.
Great. Does the board have any questions
Absolutely.
for Mrs. Flanagan?
Audrey, my first question to you, and Laura will be able to help me out on this. You weren't an original member of the 200th anniversary committee, were you?
No, I was not.
And you ended up at the end of it being chair.
Yes.
Okay.
When I joined the commission, they had already been in process for about working together for about a year. They had a lot of really great ideas, you know, all of these ideas and more. So when I joined, we just kind of consolidated those down into events that we could pull off and we could actually do in the year.
I would say Audrey brought structure to an otherwise unstructured series of meetings.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll leave the rest of the board to ask questions. I want to make sure I go full disclosure on this, that I'm not abstaining, and that's the chairman's choice, to abstain from voting for the whole process. I've known Audrey for 20 years. The couple of things that she has mentioned, girls softball, we coached together, we were on the board together. Audrey was my treasurer on girls softball for many years when I was the director. As far as me sitting in this chair, Audrey was my finance manager. And she did an excellent job financing the $19.76 I have in that account. I think in a small town such as us, when you work with someone over an amount of time and either they make you successful or you make them successful, the success is there. And I think, you know, we took girls softball from nowhere to what it was. And so when it comes to voting tonight, I'm not going to abstain from voting just because Audrey and I have a relationship in the past. I spoke with Beth Sloan, town clerk, and I spoke with town council before tonight's meeting. And there is no conflict of interest whatsoever between Audrey and I. So just so that everybody knows that, that's out there. And I'll leave it up to the rest of the board for more questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey. Any more questions? Joe, Laura?
I wish I asked Nathaniel this, and I'll ask the third candidate as well. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm changing up my questions here, but simple question, hopefully simple answer. Why now? Why go for the seat now?
Because, well, you know, I was part of recreation, and you know, my work took me into a place where I wasn't able to do as much volunteering in town until the 200th anniversary came up. I don't like to spread myself too thin on multiple, you know, boards. So where the 200th is now wrapping up, I'd like to continue with recreation,
Okay.
providing recreation to the town.
Okay. And just for the sake of putting it out there, since we have one select member abstaining and one talking about significant history, can you speak to that working relationship a little bit? What that's going to be like if there is even an issue? Just because Selectman Hickey said that there is no conflict and all that. I just
Right.
want your opinion on the same issue.
On working with Jim Hickey?
Working
or
with the
just-
Board of Selectmen, because this is appointed
Sure,
by the Selectmen,
sure.
and I would ask this if any.
I've worked with Jim Hickey on the Recreation Commission in the past, and I've also worked with Jim Hickey on the Hanson Girls Softball. I've been in multiple plays with Jim Hickey, and Jim and I have a great working relationship. I've known Kenny for a lot of years. I've come to the Board of Selectmen for things with other committees in town, and I've had to work with Kenny. And I feel like I have a great relationship with Kenny. I'm Matt's campaign manager for being selectman, and so I mean that goes without saying that Matt and I work really well together. I've known Matt for several years through the theater program. That's where Matt and I met. We're acting in a play together. And Laura and I have worked together we've worked together in the schools. Our daughters are the same age, so we've been part of, different planning events for like the girls' rec dance and things like that. And Laura and I worked together on the 200th anniversary committee as well.
Okay, so long story short is
I just
don't.
met, on election day,
You helped me put my tent up, yes.
Yes, I helped you put your tent up.
I met you for the first time on the 15th.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
You helped me put my tent up.
I did.
So I guess, long story short, is that
Yep.
you don't feel, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so you don't feel like there's gonna be a conflict, you don't feel like there's gonna be an issue,
No.
conflict of interest?
No, I don't think so. Nope.
That's all I have for questions.
Good, Laura.
So Audrey, I think I've told you this, but if I haven't, I really did value your contributions to the 200th anniversary committee. You got us on track, and we were well-intentioned, but a bit
Absolutely.
disorganized and lacking vision. But we had all those great events that were slated, and I'm glad to hear some of them are hopefully going to be salvaged. I don't even know the right way to put it. I want to make sure that if you're coming in and we should decide to appoint you tonight, that you're going to feel comfortable and that it's not going to be an us against them, like old guard versus new guard type of thing. And I hope you understand I'm coming from a really good place on this, because I value you and I can see that you could make a contribution, but I want to make sure that we're not going to stir up some kind of weird bee's nest, and I'm not saying these guys have been getting along historically anyway. On the Recreation Commission, we know that amongst this Recreation Commission, there's been some division. We just need to be honest about it, it's the truth. And so I just want, I guess maybe an assurance or your thoughts on how you would see yourself coming in as maybe somebody that might be viewed as old guard, but like with good intentions and good ideas, and like, what's your thought process? I'm sure you've thought about this.
Absolutely. Yep, I have. So in my real job, I'm a project manager, and one thing that I've learned in this is that you take pieces of the past that worked and maybe try to incorporate them into the new. I don't dwell on the past. That the previous Recreation Commission was very successful. But there were some things that they lacked also. So I feel I'm curious and excited to see all of the new changes that have been made on the board. That's just not who I am. I'm not like, well, we used to do it this way, so why don't you do it this way?
You really could see yourself being almost like a link historically, like,
Sure.
hey, some things to think about.
Yep.
This is the way we used to do it. Not saying you've got to do it that way, but yeah.
If we want to try this approach, this worked in the past. If not, I don't take offense to that kind of stuff.
Okay, and you still feel like you would be able to address the 200th anniversary? I know that's a lot of
Absolutely. Oh, yeah,
stuff.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
I have a great support on that committee, so absolutely.
All right,
Yep.
great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Mrs. Bloss.
I just wanted to say, Audrey comes with a reputation, people in town. She has a great attitude, she has a great work ethic, and one thing that she can give to this group is volunteerism. That with Audrey in place, you're going to get more volunteers. We're used to working with her, She gets results, she does a good job. Laura just talked about the 200. So she brings with her a great attitude, a great work ethic, and a lot of people who respect her, love her, and are very willing to work with her. And I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Mrs. Bloss. Diane?
Just in response to what, can I speak?
You can stand right there, you're
Thanks.
fine.
Just in response to what was said, and to what Laura said with the old versus the new and melding them together. So my question is similar to Mr. Mastico. You've recently started coming to some Zoom meetings, which has been nice to see. However, into what Mrs. Bloss said, that you would bring more volunteerism into the community. So what I'm hearing, just as someone who's been on the commission for the last, 4 years or so, is that we get more volunteers if you're here, but if not, then less volunteers with the rest of us that are here. And I would just like to ask why that would be. That's what I'm hearing.
Maybe different volunteers? Maybe you'd
Because we do have volunteers.
Yeah, maybe
that have been
tapping
helping
into
us.
a different group that Audrey and those guys, I don't know, I don't wanna speak for Joanne,
Right,
so
it would be tapping
yeah.
into a different
Yeah.
group. So
Probably,
a different
yeah.
group that was involved with everything in the previous commission.
I mean, I don't really know how to answer that. I would say that if, I brought a recreation program to the board and said, we would like to do family camping weekend, I know that I would be successful in getting the old team back, the people who helped me with the last family camping weekend because it was so successful. I think that they would gladly come back on board to help with a recreation program that I was, facilitating.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Juvie?
Go ahead.
I don't know why I'm.
No, you can stand from there.
Oh, okay. So just to speak on that, because I was part of gathering new volunteers, so I would have to say, on behalf of my recognition members, I think I take it just a little bit to heart when you say that there is nothing that has happened at the camp. The past 2 years, we have garnered more new faces in town that didn't even know Camp Kiwanee existed. In fact, this past weekend, we had new faces, new families that moved in, that felt welcomed and are excited to join the Camp Kiwanee volunteer base. In the past 2 years, we've seen the Boy Scouts return. We have a gazebo that's going up. We have new volunteers that, like I said, have never been there. We've got, lots of events that we put up in the midst of COVID. When we lost our recreation director, we were able to host movie nights. We were able to do many things. We had paint nights that were coordinated by Melissa Scartizzi. And so I think when you say that you would increase more I don't think that that's what's the problem with the camp at this point. I think what's the problem with the camp is that there is no recreation because there's no funding, and because that there's this inability for our town to reach out to other people that were
Juvie,
not part.
I'm just gonna cut you off right there, because I wanna keep it just with the interviews, and we're really pressed for time, so talking about Camp Kiwanee should be a discussion at the Camp Kiwanee
That's fine. And I'm
meeting,
just gonna
okay?
end it there. I
And
just think that
thank you
needs
for
to
that.
be put out there that volunteerism is happening at the camp.
Okay,
So I
thank
think
you.
find that.
Mrs. Bloss, and that's gonna be the last one.
I just want to clarify.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
I opened up a can of worms here.
Yes, you
I didn't
did.
mean that. I didn't mean there was no volunteerism or blah, blah, blah. So I just wanted to say she's a great organizer and we would help. And people would help, that's all. I didn't cast aspersions or,
Okay.
no bad feelings.
Audrey, final word?
Yeah, I didn't want to come across that I thought there was no recreation happening. I just was bringing up my ideas of what I would bring for recreation, not that there's no recreation happening and I'm going to bring it. That's not what I intended to come across as. So I apologize if that's how it came
No
across.
apology needed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Audrey.
All right, thank you. Next on our list is Franklin Malisi. Is Malisi?
Malisi.
Okay, Malisi.
Definitely not the first, definitely not be the last person.
So Franklin, do you mind just telling us where you live and why you would like to be appointed to Recreation, please?
Sure, so I gave a couple documents to the board when I applied. I gave a statement on there. I'm not gonna go through and read the whole statement. That was more of the qualifications. I also put in I completed my ethics training, and also I submitted a disclosure, because my wife does a lot of volunteer work for the town. Not for the town in particular, but different organizations in the town. My name is Frank Malisi, 604 Brook Street. I would like to volunteer to be appointed to the Recreation Committee because I see, for lack of a better word, process changes that can be put in place and different revenue streams that can be brought in order to increase the financial interest of the camp, which and then provides recreation for the town. I have 3 kids, 9, 6, and 5. So I have a long vested interest in there being recreation for this town. I know there's a lot of parents who have kids that are in high school and older, but I want there to be, in the next 15, 20 years, strong recreation, selfishly, for my kids and all the other kids in this town who are also in this predicament right now that Hanson finds itself in, is not having a strong recreation base when we have so much space that we can use for recreation. Besides Camp Kiwanee, we have the barge and things like that, but let's just focus on the Recreation Committee. On top of that, being in the financial technology field for the past 10 years, I can help improve, without knowing all the schematics and the systems in place currently at Camp Kiwanee, some of the processes and systems, like Wi-Fi, for example. I know the Wi-Fi may or may not go to the cabins outside. During a lot of different weddings, people like to post things to social media. Having Wi-Fi available there would make it, easily accessible for them to post things to social media, so on like that. So technology, I can bring as kind of a subject matter expert into the field. Also, before my financial technology, my passion was more in the hospitality cooking industry. So I was a sous chef for a couple different restaurants on South Shore, one of them being Tosca and Hingham. So I know the workings of a commercial kitchen. I know the kitchen that we have right now at Camp Kiwanee is getting redone with a lot of different equipment. Maybe I can bring in some insight for that equipment, kind of make it more of a commercial grade, so when caterers come in, they won't have to, if they're having a problem struggling, for example, with the dishwasher right now, if it's not a commercial dishwasher. You can have caterers go out a lot faster if you have a commercial dishwasher. That's just an example. I'm not saying that the dishwasher's bad at Camp Kiwanee or anything like that. But yeah, so I see, this past, and just on a statement outside of the Recreation Committee, this past year in the town, I got heavily involved in the politics of the town. I stood up for the override for the schools, for the kids, for the police department, for the fire department. And this is me putting my money where my mouth is, right? We're lacking volunteers in this town to run a successful town and a town that everybody wants to be in. A lot of people don't want to run for committee for various reasons, which I'm not going to get into, but everybody might know them. I don't find those reasons as a justification not to run for a volunteer position in the town. That being said, I think I would be a great fit for the Recreation Committee. My wife does a lot of great planning for events and everything like that. She's done the Touch a Truck down at McQuon for the Boy Scouts that were here. And she currently is a fundraising coordinator for the Hanson Youth Football that all 3 of my kids are on as well. So, thank you.
Any questions from the board?
I would love questions from Mr. Hickey. He asked the hard-pressing questions.
I was going to pass. Not really, Frank. I do appreciate you filling out the disclosure form for your wife, and I think I read she's a member of the Friends of Kiwanee.
She is. So she is a member, and she volunteered for a couple of events that they had. She's not like a board member or anything like that, but my wife, she's the hardest worker. She's a stay-at-home mom with 3 boys right now. But her passion is planning events and bringing kind of those events into the book. So she really will go after any organization within the town. And Friends of Camp Kiwanee, I know she was thinking about the 200th committee, doing things like that. She goes after anything that would have her there. So
okay, and I do respect people having different opinions. You brought it up. I remember hearing your voice in the back of the hall with the override.
Yes.
And you were definitely for the schools.
Correct.
But the way it came across to me, and I'm sorry to do this, is a hard-hitting question. And I could have misheard you, but I thought you said something to the effect that you wanted to make sure the schools got the money, so we would have to take it from other departments.
No.
Am I?
No, yeah, that would never come out of my mouth, because
Okay.
you know, that being said, if anybody wants to go back to the town meeting, I'm not sure which one you're referring to, if you're referring to the July one from 2020 or the most recent.
The one we just had.
The one we just had, yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't do that. As a matter of fact, if you look at my social media and most of the people I talk to, I believe that the whole town should have a pretty level budget. I did, full disclosure.
Mr. Malisi, I'm just going to toss this question out just because I don't know where exactly you want to go with this. And I just don't want it to be, we're making judgments on someone based on political belief.
Well, we also
Mr.
didn't ask any of the other people.
No, that's completely fine. I love the question, and you know what you might be referring to is the transfer station. So I believe that the transfer station is a excessive capital cost to this town when it wasn't presented in that way. Yes, I did stand up for defunding that by the capital funds and putting that back into general cash so it can be used at other departments, but there was no point in time where I said fund the school, cut the police department, anything like that. If that was taken that way, if anybody took it that way, let me just put it right here, right now, that is unacceptable. In order to have a nice, successful town, you need to have good schools, good recreation for kids so they don't get in trouble, good fire departments, good police departments, and good streets. I would never do that. You might be referring
I just wanted to make sure I heard you
and
correctly.
I appreciate the question, because you know what, I don't want people to think that I said that, so I appreciate that.
Right.
Any other questions for Mr. Hickey?
Any
I'm obviously done.
any other questions from the board?
I was gonna ask the same ones I asked some other folks. Why now? I think you kind of answered that question already a little bit, but just kind of repeat so I can.
So
say
why now? Yeah, I mean, like I said before, you know, I'm vested for the future of this. I don't see the recreation committee, you know, major overhauls in the next 6 months to a year. I see in the next 3, 4, 5 years is when, you know, some of the fruits of that we would plant now would be kind of growing into it. You know, that being said, you know, I love the town of Hanson, right? Everybody in this town has a perfect opportunity to sell their house at a great margin this year and move out to another town if they don't like it. Me and my wife decided to stay, said do renovations to our house, you know? So I'm invested in the community. That's why I want to serve on the committee.
Laura, any questions?
You know, just the same questions that I asked, like programs, you know, and what programs would you have to bring revenue? And then also, how do you see yourself kind of fitting in with the existing Recreation Commission? Because I know you've attended.
I have, yeah. So contrary to popular belief, I'm actually a fiscal conservative. So I find that anything that we bring into the camp has to be sustainable. But that does not mean by any stretch of the imagination we can't have things in the camp just because they have the appearance of might not being sustainable. You have to try things. You have to try things in order for them to fail, and you have to try things in order for them to succeed. One of the things that I would personally like to explore, since, if I'm not mistaken, we do not have a snack shack at Camp Kiwanis anymore, being able to rent out some spots or a spot in the parking lot for food trucks. For example, every day, have a food truck permit that would be there, $100 to Camp Kiwanis, something along those lines that would be committed, and then during the summertime, you would have somewhere people can go to get drinks, snacks, things like that, and also bring in a source of, you know, minor revenue for Camp Kiwanis. Other than that, having, you know, like Nathaniel mentioned, camping systems. There's a system called Reserve America that the state of New Hampshire uses in order to book their campgrounds. Super easy, about 3 clicks. Goes from New Hampshire all the way down to family campgrounds. That's something that we could possibly look into utilize. Having a pricing calculator right on the website for different events. You know, you check a box if you want to use the kitchen for a half day, it will charge you this amount, and then you can send all that information over to the secretary at Camp Kiwanis, so she kind of has that quote already made, and then she can go ahead and make the process a little bit faster and easier to get that contract out to the wedding or the birthday or something along those lines. Like I said, this is me not knowing any of the financials or the current inner workings of Camp Kiwanis as of yet. So, you know, if there's other things like that might already be in the works, I don't know. I see myself working as a person who is there to you know, make the mission statement of the Recreation Committee succeed. I mean, that, I don't see myself as anybody else. I mean, me having disagreements with any of the board members on a personal or political level doesn't have any bearing on me wanting to provide recreation for the children, not only the children, I mean, children, like, the children can, they have the skate park, but the whole town. I mean, there's things that we can bring in there. Senior dance nights, you know, we can have a DJ coming in or something like that, or somebody, and have kind of like a golden ages dance night or something like that. There's many different things that we can do, not all about the children, but about the whole community having.
No, I agree. I think part of what's been missing and maybe has been deepening the divide is that ability to connect with people on community events and recreation events, and so I think it's very important.
Yeah, and just a note on that, and I am going, so please gavel me out if you want to. Kids equal revenue, right? I mean, my kids we spend hundreds of dollars a year on sports for just football. I mean, it's a revenue source. Children are a revenue source. So, most adults don't need to learn how to swim, but if you charge $125 per kid, they will learn how to swim and people will come here. There seems to be some disagreement that children cost a lot more money than they bring in. If that's the disagreement, then I don't. Well, I mean, on a personal level, don't get me wrong. As a parent, they do definitely bring out a lot more money than they bring in. But when it comes to using them as a business model, it's a little bit different, right? yeah. So you get it. So when it comes to a business model and businesses that provide recreation and services for children, they bring in a lot of money. And there's a lot of untapped money in this town when it comes to recreation proceeds that Camp Kewanee and the town can benefit from. So.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
Ms. Cohen?
So Frank, thanks. I know I've seen you at the last few meetings, and I've worked with your wife, so I just want to say thanks for putting your money where your mouth is. And just to say that things are looking up for Camp Kewanee. We are solidly booked out for 2021, into 22, into 2023. So we have a great system. We have a fabulous, amazing administrative assistant. She is wonderful, and so whoever gets appointed, I just hope that we can all work together, okay?
Thank you. All right, any other questions from the board? All right.
Mrs. Fazzetti.
Ms. Fazzetti.
I just want to make a statement. Okay, a lot of the things that they've suggested have been put on hold because of COVID. We shut down, we had a whole bunch of things planned for 21, and back even in 20. We had to stop everything going. We had to shut down the camp for so many months, so we had no revenue coming in at all. We had nobody at the camp. So, I mean, people have to stop and realize that we've had a whole year of being able to do anything. And there are a lot of the things that they've talked about are already in progress for doing for the coming year, like Wi-Fi. We do have some Wi-Fi put in, but we don't have it complete. We have to have electrical system put in. We have to have a lot of things done prior to be able to doing a lot of the things that they suggest. So that's what we're working on now.
Great, thank you.
And the kitchen is being redone and everything else. So a lot of the things that you're talking about are already in progress.
Great. Thank you.
As a business plan is that was shut down when COVID started, because we did have a business plan going.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Weeks.
Just really quick, I just want to say, I do appreciate all the efforts of everybody on the Recreation Commission, because you have been trying to navigate through very, very difficult, and it's like the buzzword of the year, unprecedented times. So I do want to recognize that. And what is great that I'm hearing is that no matter who gets appointed right now, a lot of the ideas that are being presented are things that are already in the works or in some way, shape, or form already been discussed. So I think it's great to see that there is a lot of collaboration, there's a lot of communication, and it seems like no matter which direction we choose, the commission's going to be able to continue on with the good efforts. And I just really want to take a moment to applaud that and just say, first of all, recognize it and say thank you for all the hard work that's been going on. So.
Thank you. Mr. Hickey, did you have anything? No? Okay.
No.
I thought I heard something from the side of the table.
Tonight, I would like a request, when you do vote on me, if you have to do a second, can Mr. Hickey have the second? No, I just want to make that request.
I defer all seconds for the rest of the night to Mr. Hickey.
Thank you very much, I
all
appreciate it.
With that being said, moving forward to appointment, I'm trying to think of the best way to go forward. I will say this is the least favorite part of being a selectman, is having to pick between people. I hate it.
3 good people.
Yeah, 3 really good people. So I really hate this part. So I want to say thank you very much for everyone that had put their applications in. So with that being said, we have to get a move on with tonight's meeting. So with that being said, I think the best way to go is...
I make a nomination?
Yep, I'll entertain a nomination.
I want to nominate Frank Malisi to the Recreation Commission.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor? All right, 5-0.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Audrey Flanagan.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? 5-0. So, with that being said, to Audrey and Franklin, thank you very much for stepping up, and also Nathan, thank you very much for stepping up as well. I hope you stay engaged with the camp, because there's always something to do up there, as you know. So with that being said, Audrey and Franklin, please make a point to go see the town clerk to get sworn in, and then complete your ethics commission training.
And thank you guys for applying, thanks.
So thank you very much.
Thanks, Nate.
So with that being said, we have a few requests to deem town surplus. Deem IT hardware, police department, Nortel phone system, and town hall desk as surplus. Moved by Ms. Kemmett. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Mitchell. All in favor? Aye. Request, item 9, request to use town green for Calvary Baptist Church for Family Fun Day, 9 to 10.
What date? It's not in the motion, it's not in the line item.
Yeah, let's see.
It's August, I believe it's 14th.
August 14th?
August 14th, 2021.
All right, so
From
moved.
9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right, all in favor? All right, thank you. And accept generous donations, accept $200 gifts, and that's plural, all right? So there's multiple $200 gifts to Camp Kewanee from Kemmett Electric, Ferry Automotive, and Indian Head Water Transportation.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and seconded by Mr. Hickey. All in favor?
I'm abstaining.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
if I have to, but I just feel
Sure,
like I...
one abstention. So with that being said, that was a 4-0-1. And one-day liquor licenses, I am going to print it as in the warrant. I know I'm always for transparency, but sometimes there's surprise events. So if you're interested, contact the Selectmen's office, and we can provide you with the one-day liquor license. Moved
Second.
and seconded by Mr. Mitchell. All in favor? Aye. And town administrators report. Lisa.
Okay, short and sweet. So we have, we've submitted our Plymouth County CARES Acts, submission number 13 and 14. Submission number 13 was mainly for school costs regarding sanitizing services for school equipment, buildings, and the buses. The amount of that submission was $199,971. Submission number 14 was again school costs regarding technology and laptop computers. That was an amount of $227,988. So those are successfully submitted and under the review of Plymouth County. And actually this week, yesterday, as a matter of fact, I received 2 submissions, number 8 and 9, back from Plymouth County CARES Act with an approval. The first submission initially was $115,441. They had to adjust that minus $632 for a duplicate invoice. And again, that was mainly for school cleaning and sanitizing services. So we are approved for $114,809. Submission number 9 was for originally $85,667, adjusted by $221 for a payroll correction. Again, mainly school costs, so we are approved for $85,445, so we will see those checks coming in soon. We brought on this week 2 Bridgewater State College students. They're both seniors, very, very intelligent students, and they are gaining some municipal experience in government by working on minutes, Board of Selectmen minutes. So we look forward to both of those. One student is an English major, the second one is political science, so we should get some excellent work from each of them. And also, too, I had drafted some new employee forms, and I thought that we had some in packets. I don't see them here.
They were on Dropbox.
Oh, okay. These are forms basically that we used in Whitman. Whenever a new employee was hired, it included some basic information, the department, hours expected to work, and salary. And then it also ensures that they go through all of the background checks and physical and drug testing and query. So once all of those are done, we sign off, town administrator will sign off, our chair of selectmen will sign off, and a copy of that will go to the treasurer collector office so they can log in the pay, and also the town accountant's office. And that is actually the beginning of our personnel file. And then also included is a employee status change form, which I know that the town does have their own forms when there's a step or a salary increase. This would be kind of duplicate in that avenue, but this is also very helpful when we have an employee who resigns or is terminated or retires. It gives basic information of what they're owed as far as vacation time, things like that. In that on their last day, they turn in whatever town equipment was issued to them, their fob. And we make sure that IT is notified so that they can disconnect any access to the town network. And again, that's signed off for by the town administrator and the employee, which says that they agree with what we have in our records as far as any earned vacation time and things. And again, that will go in the personnel file as a closeout on the file when they leave. So, and then everything will go in between. So it's just the beginning of making our personnel files more efficient and easily to understand and read. And that's all for my report this week.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And I really, really applaud the effort to kind of standardizing hiring practices and keeping employee information up to date. So I really, really appreciate that.
I applaud the effort to standardize anything.
This is true. So, Lisa, thank you very much for that.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, well,
You got anything else?
Go to wage and personnel.
wage and personnel real quick.
Separate.
Actually, if I could just add one more, speaking of that. So I have prepared, and you do have in your packets, job descriptions. We have 2 openings in town for an IT director and a town planner. So the postings are ready to go to be submitted to the Express, so that we can get on this right away, so we're not without a town planner or an IT director for very long, past July 1. And the board will be discussing that in the next meeting. And as soon as I get the go-ahead, boom, those are out there, looking for our excellent candidates.
Thank you. So, I guess there is, we would want to adjourn to
Yes.
wage and personnel.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All right, perfect.
Can you pass
It was
this?
a 5-0, so. Ryan, are you all set, or are you recording wage and personnel as well?
Can you pass this down? That's the packets.
Okay. All right, nope, I just want to make sure that we're all aware of what we're doing here. So with that being said, I am the chair of Wage and Personnel as well, for hopefully not too much longer.
Yeah, for 3 more years, the rest of your term.
Right.
Mere moments.
All right, Ryan, whenever you're ready. All right. All right, good evening. This is the Town of Hanson Wage and Personnel Board, Board meeting on Tuesday, June 15th, 2021. The time now is 8:35 PM. Call to order. The first item on the agenda is to reorganize. I'm going to hand this over to Ms. Green to run this part of reorganization. I think what worked, what we used last time worked, which was just round robin for, well, no, actually, no. We usually with wage and personnel, it's usually the vice chair.
Yeah, nice try, no.
Who's the vice chair? Kenny?
Yeah. So, but that was standard
Yeah,
practice in the back, in
whatever.
the past, but it's however the board wants to proceed. So, I'll hand it over to you, Ms. Green.
Okay, so we now need to reorganize. Do I hear a motion, nomination for chair for wage and personnel?
I'll do it.
I
nominate
nominate
Joe
Weeks.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Weeks for chair, and we have Mr.
You're
Hickey
gonna be
who
fine.
has seconded that. Any other nominations? Okay, do we have let's vote for Mr. Weeks as our chair. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Payback for all
Okay.
those seconds.
Mr. Weeks as our Mr. Chairman, I will
That's
hand this
5-0
over
in
to
case
you
you can't see that on that
Thank you. Okay.
for vice chair.
Oh, we have a vice
Pass that
chair
down.
for wage
yeah.
and personnel?
Thank you.
Do you? I don't know.
Kenny
This is my
was the
first wage and
vice chair.
personnel.
No, we don't think we have a vice.
No,
we
it's
had a vice
usually
chair.
a chair.
Yeah, no, we have a vice chair.
Oh, do we?
Gotta have a
Vice chair of wage and personnel?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
because
gotta
remember
have
we
a,
appointed
chair's out,
Mr.
then
Hickey there
somebody
once,
else is-
we had to go
at least
back.
2.
all right,
So I'll
so
take nominations on the floor for vice
I'd like to
chair.
nominate Jim Hickey as vice chair.
I'll decline, thank you very much.
There you go.
Under my current health situation,
As chair, I
I
decline
should have
that
already left
ability.
this meeting.
Okay.
I
Are you
nominate,
seriously declining it? Yes?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I nominate Ms. Kemmett to vice chair of wage and personnel.
Second.
Second.
We got a motion and a second.
Frozen.
Any other discussion?
No more discussion.
Forgot we're still on camera.
All those in favor?
Okay.
All right, we have a vice chair. Do we need a clerk or anything, or is that too good
we're
enough?
good with
We're good?
I don't
Yeah,
think
we're good.
Wasn't a clerk? Do you guys remember?
Sounds good.
Not that I know of.
No.
Maybe
These
Wes.
just the job descriptions now for,
Can't vote him in though.
packet.
Revised job
Oh, we're gonna do that
descriptions.
now.
So, new business.
Just-
Review and approve 3 revised job descriptions. Information Technology Director, Town Planner, and Highway Director/Tree Warden.
So actually, Mr. Chair, Highway Director and Tree Warden, would ask please to table that.
Okay.
That is that job description where we are incorporating Tree Warden, which was an elected position until town meeting and is now an appointed position. However, there's really not a job description out there for tree warden, so one has to be drafted to incorporate into highway. So I hope to have that to the board for the next meeting of the wage and personnel.
All right, so consider it tabled.
Awesome.
All right. So, information technology, let's start there. Did everybody have a chance to read the job descriptions prior?
No.
I did not.
I did not either.
Actually, could I mention that? Could we make sure these are in the Dropbox prior to meetings in the future?
Yes.
They were.
They were not in the 6/15/21 file, were they in a
No,
separate
no,
file?
they were, yeah, there's a wage and personnel. If you
It's a separate
scroll
one.
down, under 2021,
That's why
it's
I
a
emailed you
completely
guys and
different.
said, can I get a copy of the
Yeah,
job
no,
descriptions?
they are
Okay.
in a Dropbox for wage and personnel.
Note to the file.
Yep.
So no, I didn't get to review that in advance. I did review the town planner one, though, because I think you sent that to me.
Yes,
I got that one.
yes, and I did make the corrections, and the one that's in here is the one with the corrections that you suggested.
Mr. Chair, did you get any feedback from the planning board on this at all, or?
Basically today, literally probably just before the meeting tonight, I did get an email from Joe Campbell, who the only request that they had was that the town planner, first and foremost, would be the planning board is their first and foremost responsibility. And that was it, as far as any other suggestions.
full disclosure, actually, I don't want to speak, are you done?
Oh,
No, you done with your line of questions?
No, I'm not
Okay,
really,
go ahead,
I mean,
keep going.
okay, thank you. So I respectfully, I understand where they're coming from, but I would say that that's been part of the problem in that position, is that it's always, I think, been extremely ambiguous for whomever it is that is the town planner. And I don't think that their primary responsibility is to the planning board. And I know that's an odd thing to say, but the depth and breadth of that position is so much broader than just what the planning board does, which is enormous in and of itself. But the grants and some of the other stuff that I've been working with the town planner on, McQuon reuse, the Economic Development Committee, those things are not under the purview of the planning board, yet they are critical to this town, and they are just as important as the planning board work. Now, reasonable people may disagree about that, but I think that if we're looking at the job description, I don't think it's going to be accurate going forward to say that their primary responsibility is to the planning board. Clearly, that is an important part of their job. But I think it needs to be balanced with the rest of the, with the rest of what they have on their plate. So that's just my 2 cents.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I agree with Laura 100%. 100%. That was one of the things that Matt and I, when they were talking, so the town planner has to get the direction from planning and also the town administrator, not just the planning board.
No.
At all, so I do agree with that. I don't know how you get that done or how you put that on paper.
It says it right here, under the
It's-
administrative
yeah.
direction of the town administrator or the town's planning board.
Yeah.
So,
Right
yeah.
under supervision required.
So we can just respond that we appreciate their
Sure.
their input, but, that it is right in the supervision that they're under the direction of the town administrator and the town's planning board, so we'll leave it at
And I think it's
that.
their intention to prioritize their needs and certainly to meet their needs. It isn't that they're going to be given short shrift,
exactly.
at all. It's not that we're suddenly going to take this person and completely have them work on all kinds of other things except for planning board issues. It's just more of a balance and a matter of prioritization, which I think you would work with the chair of planning and say, look, I've got these things going on, you've got these things going on, we've got this one person, can we agree on what those priorities are?
Maybe that's what you tell them, working with the chair, with you, working directly with them to get it, what Laura just said. I like that part too.
Yep, we can
So
do
then they
that.
don't feel left out.
Oh, yeah, no, like I said, it is right there, and I'm sure I can
But they should
fashion,
be able to work with you on that position.
Because I do want to recognize that, again, they're another elected board, and they're given a pretty large job to do, and they
Right,
do need to have the support. So it isn't our intent, at least it's not my intention, to take that support away from them at all. It's
Right.
just a matter of, I think in the past, because of the way that the job description was, in a way, we almost opened up ourselves to individuals, and I'm not saying this always happened, and I'm not pointing out any particular individuals, but for the individual in that job to interpret what the priorities were. And there was a
Exactly,
lack of clarity about what the TA's role was with respect to that position. And I think that ultimately led to a lot of frustration, mixed signals, differences in priorities, all of the above. So anyway, I've probably said way too much, but.
So my question is, because I didn't have a chance to read it, what is the difference between the original job description and this revised one? Because in full disclosure, I wrote the previous one, job description. So can you tell me what's the difference? What is this actually doing that's more specific?
well, I mean, this one here, because I did take some of the job descriptions from our job
Hanover
description and, incorporated them.
Yep.
And then I looked at around other towns and see how they had it wording, like this one actually breaks out accountability, occupational risks, essential functions, the supervision required. So it kind of breaks it out a little bit easier to understand and look at. And then it will say what the essential functions are, what the supervision requirements are. there's not much of a difference, basically, as far as the responsibilities and duties. I mean, you're still working with grants, the town, you're still working with the developers in town and providing guidance and, not running the meetings, but having a significant role in the planning board's meetings. So like I said, there's not much of a difference in them. I think I just clarified a little bit more some of the duties as the other one. And I apologize, I don't have a copy of the other one so that I could compare it.
Did you talk about the town administrator reporting structure, or was it more kind of planning, mostly like planning board? Because that would have been the perspective you were coming from at the time.
No, absolutely. So I don't necessarily, I want to do whatever's best in terms of the job description, right? Because we want to make sure that we have happy employees that are going to be here for a long time and doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. So it has nothing to do with ego around writing this at all. But we took a lot, I remember actually doing this, going through this process, going through a lot of, that's why I recognized in the job description a lot of the paragraphs that were in this as being from other places, because I distinctly remember taking those exact same towns and moving to this. The vice chair at the time was Don Ellis. He helped, and the administrator at the time helped write this. So it was a 3-person job to try to figure out what made sense. So it's not necessarily a matter of which job description is per se better. I just want to make sure that whatever we put out there is accurate for the needs of Hanson, because that was the only perspective that I had is, Hanover can be doing this, Pembroke can be doing this. What is in the best interest of Hanson and Hanson's needs? Because our town planner has always been kind of a jack of all trades, and we needed to have that flexibility in there. It's not the same position as other towns. So do you feel, I mean, you must because you're presenting it to us, do you feel that it is unique to the needs of Hanson and that it is not going to dilute the job of the town planner? Because we do have 1,000 different projects happening right now. So I want to make sure there's a level of protection there.
Well, I think so, because, it kind of covers a lot of different areas where we have in here that they'll be instrumental working with the master plan, the economic development plan, the open space plan. So, there'll be some instrumental in working with those areas, the Community Preservation Act. But then also working with the general public, on planning matters, because I do know Deb had a lot of interaction with some of the developers who are also community members. And then it talks about just implementing the decisions of the planning board. So again, watching over the policies, coordinating in the development of the analysis of the town community development program, evaluating potential and actual impacts on the physical, economic, ecological and sociological conditions of the town. So as a small town, unfortunately, they're going to wear more hats than some other towns that can afford to have 2 or 3 people in a department. It does talk about grants, and so I mean, I feel that it does fit the needs. If anybody feels otherwise, please let me know, because I'm here to take direction from you and I can revise this in any way, shape, or form. I'm happy to do it.
There's 10 bullets here, Lisa, and like 7 of them are squarely planning board, doing things for the planning board. So I do think it's still on balance primarily, I think saying, but it's just also calling out that there's these other things that need to be done. And, and to your point, Joe, I think, it's so important when you're onboarding new employees, when you're interviewing new employees, to have this clarity for them of what the expectation is, and I think we've been extremely ambiguous in this position, and it's shifting sands, and depending upon who the TA is and the planning board is, and who's yelling the loudest, and I think there's been a bit of a tug of war, and that's not a good position for any employee to be in.
I mean, it's tougher when somebody new comes in and they don't have a full understanding of how maybe municipal government works. It's a shock to the system. It really is. I mean, when you come from the private sector, who again, you're going to have a support team, you're going to have administrative assistants, you're going to have people who do this for you or do that for you, and you come here and you find you have to do it all yourself. It's a shock to the system. It's something that you need to get used to. So when you have a job description that kind of lays all that out, the person applying for the job has an idea of what they're getting into. And they're not coming in blindsided by anything when they come into that job. This pretty much lays it all out. We're a small town, you're a very small department, it's you and you have a part-time administrative assistant until, June 30th, and then we've got to figure out from there, because that position needs an administrative assistant. I mean, you can't do it yourself. And then Rhonda's been great in that position. She's learned a lot from Deb in the short time they had together, so she's able to kind of carry on right now. And I'm taking over the grants to make sure that doesn't fall through the scoops. So there's not a lot that's different. It just really maps out what the expectation is of a small town in a town planner position of how much they're going to need to do. So they'll have a full understanding of it.
Any other comments or questions?
No, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the town planner job description.
Motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion?
Well, yeah, just, I do want to try to be responsive to, like, I don't want it to be like, go pound sand, the Board of Selectmen decided this was a good job description. It doesn't feel very collegial to me. I'm just, did they have specific changes that they wanted to, did they have specific changes that they had asked to have made to the job description?
None at all. Like I said, I actually...
Just that verbiage you said to us?
I just got the information, Joe Campbell sent me the response at 4:33 this afternoon that the only area they wanted to see change was that the priority of the town planner is to the town of Hanson Planning Board first above all other boards and committees. That's it. That's the only change that they wanted to see and suggested.
It's not gonna happen.
And did they have ample time to be able to discuss this and all that?
Yeah, I sent this out to the two members, to Joe Campbell and Don Ellis, back on...
At 4:17 PM.
No, June 2nd.
Okay.
June 2nd, so that they would have a lot of extra time to look over this.
Okay.
Weeks.
So they did have ample time to look it over. And I
Joe
said,
Campbell sent
let
an
me
email
know
at
what
4:30.
revisions.
Not last night, though.
Yeah,
They haven't met
just
since June 2nd. Last night was the...
All right, but I did send it to him on June 2nd, actually shortly after we had the meeting. And I had some time to do some research and then put it together and, because, it takes a little time to put these things together, to make sure that they're presentable and they're not full of typos and things like that. So I try to take pride in my work when I send it out, which means I read it and try and spell check it and things like that when I send things out.
I'm gonna go with whatever you think on this one, honestly.
Well, like I say, I mean, I have an understanding of small towns and how they run and what we do need in a position, so to speak. I mean, they're out there, and like I said, I believe in reaching out to the colleges. I mean, we have great colleges. We have Bridgewater, we have Stonehill. Send these job descriptions out. You got college students out there, graduates who are hungry. They're hungry for work, and you probably have some that are looking at municipal government. And they're willing to, they have the know-how, they have that fresh knowledge, and they're hard workers. They want to do a good job. So I don't have any doubts that sending these to the area colleges won't generate some quality candidates for us.
And have we done a competitive analysis, and I'll ask the same question of the IT position as well, to determine whether we're even in the ballpark of paying a decent salary for the skills that we're expecting?
Well, according to Todd, we are in that area. I did do that salary survey of what some of the other towns were paying. And so we are in the area, and Todd confirms that we do have in the technology line about 106,000. But that's also including expenses. For what we want to introduce is, I think we had in there 75 to 90, which 90 was what Todd confirmed that we would have for the salary. But, we did talk about the fact that we're not getting half of that from East Bridgewater.
Right,
but
right.
He thinks that there's...
benefits of that, you're over 100.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why, again, with the colleges that we have in the area and the excellent STEM programs that they have, sending these out and see what we get, There's a lot of resources out there for entry-level positions for the South Shores IT directors. We have Josh McNeil at Whitman, we have Ryan McGonigal, who stand by ready to help anybody, but we'll see what we get.
I
It's
think
also.
the IT position would be perfect, but the town planner, I would get it out to.
Yeah, well, they're both gonna go in the Express, they'll both go in MMA. We'll use those resources, I'm gonna send them out to the colleges. I mean, we could get graduate students, you don't know what we'll get, but like I said,
There are IT association at least, I
yeah,
don't know if
we've
there's a
got
town
IT
planner.
associations.
What about OCPC, can we reach out and see if they might know of anybody that,
Absolutely,
might be
absolutely.
willing to throw their hat in the ring? So I think there was a
So we already have a
first
motion.
and second.
We have a
and then
motion
I
and second, so.
Derailed it, I'm sorry.
It's all right. So, I was gonna call it back in anyways, because we're talking about job, outsourcing versus, the
Yeah.
job descriptions. So, are there any other questions related to the job descriptions? Anything at all? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye or. All right. All those opposed, abstained? Nope. All right. 5-0.
All right.
I'll also accept a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I'm sorry, my motion was for just the town planner, but,
Yeah.
I'll make a
IT.
motion to approve the IT director's job description as well.
Second.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion second. Anything related to the IT job description then? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 5-0.
To adjourn?
Motion to
Second.
adjourn. Second. All those in favor? We are adjourned.